Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Healing Conversations with Coach V. I'm Coach V, certified life coach and personal growth expert with SVM Initiatives, LLC. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on YouTube at Healing Conversations with Coach V. Okay, now that that's all out the way. So y'all know the show is about everyday people who experience challenges in life like we all do. And we usually find our own ways on how to overcome and how to heal or how to begin our healing journey. So today I have a super special guest. A lot of you may know her, but for those of you in the back who don't, I have TiffanyMichelle in the building. Yes, TiffanyMichelle. So she is going to talk to us about a challenge she's had in life and how that challenge allowed her to blossom and bloom into the amazing mother that she is, the budding author, the entrepreneur, the boss babe. So we're going to have a conversation today and just get to know a little bit more about her. So thank you for tuning in. Hey, TiffanyMichelle.
Hi.
How are you, ma'am?
I'm doing well. Good. Thanks for having me.
Good. Well, thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. I sure appreciate that. So before we get into like all the juicy tidbits about who makes TiffanyMichelle who she be,
okay,
can you take a few moments and just introduce yourself to the audience?
I'm TiffanyMichelle of the TiffanyMichelle Speaks brand of Fashion Forward Cincy, which is now Fashion Forward Now, and the Hair District, and also TiffanyMichelle Consulting.
Okay.
So I do a little bit of everything.
You do.
Yeah,
you do.
That's pretty much me. I'm a mom, mother of 5.
Okay.
Yeah, most people don't get that. But
one of the babies in the building.
You one of them. She's helping me out today.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's who I am.
Okay.
There's a lot more to the story. Of
yes.
course, we'll get into that.
Absolutely. Well, at least now we have a glimpse of how many hats that you wear. So now I want to very concisely get into what made TiffanyMichelle who she is, what experience she's had, what challenge she's had. Because sometimes people look at boss babes and think that's all we know is bossing. Right. That we really don't have a story or a testimony, or we don't get it. We don't know the struggle.
Right.
So I appreciate you being in a space to set the record straight.
Yes.
So go ahead and do that. Tell us about you or a challenge you've had.
The pivotal moment for my life, or the challenge that I had, was I'm a survivor of domestic violence.
Wow. Okay.
So for 10 years, I was in an abusive relationship. Sometimes it was just verbal. Most of it was pretty physical. And that was the catalyst that kind of catapulted me into who I am today.
Okay.
And let's see, we can go back. I was 16 years old.
Okay.
High school. And I had a real distorted view of what love was. I thought it was the controlling behavior. I thought it was the physical, all of that. I thought that meant he loved me.
Right.
Because that's what I saw. We kind of condition girls to believe that if a boy hits you, that means he likes you.
Exactly.
So I was conditioned that way to believe that, oh, if he's doing this to me, that must mean he really likes me. About the summer of my senior year of high school, I became a mother. Well, I found out that I was pregnant. I had to end up, that moment, finding out you're pregnant, the summer before your senior year, that kind of took me to another place.
Okay.
Had a scholarship, full ride scholarship, pre-med to Vanderbilt University.
Okay, Vandy,
and ended up not even taking it because I had a new responsibility. Was going to night school to make sure that I could graduate on time. Missed out on a lot of things as a young teenager. And, but that helped me to kind of ground me and made me think like, hey, I have a child now to think about that's before me. So I ended up marrying my son's father 2 years after that.
Okay.
And the abuse was pretty consistent. And up until there was a point at which I was pregnant with my twin daughters. This was my third pregnancy at the time. I was pregnant with my twin daughters, and he put his hands on me. And not only did that, he kind of humiliated me, pulled my shirt off me, locked me outside. So ended up getting back in the house.
So while you were with child, I want to make sure we're clear on that.
While I was with 2 children.
With 2 babies, right.
With 2. I'm going through all of this. I remember at that moment, I'm on the phone with 911 and telling them, you know, what's going on. And his exact words were, if you're going to tell them that I did something, tell them I did this. And he punched me directly square in my mouth.
Wow.
And I had to end up having my jaw reset and a
wow.
lot of things. And he
It was a major.
Yeah, he did end up having to serve time. But then I was still that broken young woman, and took him back later on. And then the abuse, that cycle continued again until finally one day I was just like, hey, I've had enough. I knew at this moment in my life, I was 26 years old. My youngest daughter was a year. And I just knew if I didn't get out, it was going to be, one of us was going to die.
Right. Right.
I knew that. I
remember that mentality, yes.
I knew that it was either going to be me getting a weapon to protect myself or he was going to kill me. So 4th of July, the night before 4th of July, I went to get my hair done, and I'm going, I was headed home. I ended up being at the salon too late because, as you know, what we do before the 4th of July, nobody's on time. So it was after midnight by the time I left, and I remember that he asked me to get him some White Castles on my way home. Okay. But that was usually his way of controlling, to see like if I was where I said I was at the time that I said I was. Right. Because you got to bring the receipt and the time on it.
Right.
So,
right.
I remember as I'm pulling out of the parking lot at the salon, I'm on the phone and I'm saying, do you still need me to get you some White Castles? And he says, no, it's all right. I already got it. And I was just awkward because we have 5 children. He has a 4-passenger car. There was no way you're getting 4 car seats in the back of your car. So I pulled out of the parking lot and I noticed this car is following me.
From the salon?
From the salon.
Okay.
I noticed the car is following me. And we go underneath this really, one of those lights that shine down really bright. And I see that it's his car. So he's following me and then tries to run me off the road. And I call my mom and I'm like, I can't go home. I don't know what to do. What do I do? She's like, don't. I was like, but the kids, what am I going to do? They're not with me. So I had to end up leaving my children with him in order for me to leave this relationship. And so that was one of the most selfish things that I had to do for me. Right. It was disturbing. I ended up getting them the next day through a emergency protective order. Okay. But still that feeling of knowing that you have to leave your children behind.
Right. Always a mommy first.
Always a mommy first. But you know, if mommy's not good,
absolutely,
the baby's not going to be good either. So that's kind of what catapulted me into who I am today.
So I want to just break this down just a little bit because I need to make sure that everyone watching understands the foundation that made you all the fabulousness that's sitting here before me today. So you had an experience early on, I guess, in the relationship that you called for help. You called 911. You ain't try to kill him. You called for help. And his response is, you want to call him, I'm going to tell him this or tell him I did this. Like, just the arrogance of that, just, I had to keep myself on my seat. Like, that's crazy.
That was his personality.
And you had to get your jaw wired.
Yes. I had to get it reset.
Had to get it reset.
And then later on, I had to have surgery, reconstructive jaw surgery.
From this one hit, when you were calling for help. But then, after all that, you went back.
I did.
You did. You went back.
I did.
I know there's a lot of people watching, myself included, that have been there, or some of the viewers may be in that space now. some people may have not experienced that. Can you help us understand why at that moment you went back?
I was broken.
Yeah.
I was broken. I can sit here today and kind of like watching a movie play.
Absolutely.
I was broken.
Absolutely.
A lot of times people don't realize, especially if you haven't been in a domestic abuse relationship, you're not just being hit. They've already, taken down your self-esteem.
Exactly.
You don't feel good about yourself. You don't feel like you're going to be wanted or desired, and they say those words to you. So that was where I was.
Yeah.
And then I wanted my family to work.
Right.
I didn't want to get divorced. I didn't want, I didn't want those things from even my children. I wanted them to come from a two-parent home. So it was a lot of layers of things that I had to deal with and address in order for me to say, hey, this is not good. It's, one thing to say, your children came from a broken home, than to say my children are in a broken home.
Correct.
So
correct, absolutely. And you touched on a couple points. I share with a lot of my clients that usually the physical abuse is like the end point of the abuse. There's so much deterioration that happen with your self-esteem and with your confidence and things that logically ain't right, but sometimes we real life get blinded by love and we believe like, no, this person loves me, so they're just being honest, they're telling me the truth, regardless how many friends you have, how close you are with your family. And I think it's just so important to hit on that point because a lot of people don't get it.
yeah.
And then we want to save people from experiencing it themselves. So we want them to understand that, believe me when I tell you, there's a lot of work that goes into it before you get hit.
Right.
There's a lot of work that goes into it. So now that we have that clarity, what was the point that made TiffanyMichelle say, you know what, this got to end? Let me do something different.
There were several police calls.
Okay.
And one of the last police calls, the officer said, look, if we have to keep coming here, we're going to take the kids. That did something to me.
Yep.
Because as a mother, I could not see my children going into foster care or even being raised by a family member. That took me back to that first moment of when I had to make a decision about college.
Yep.
Whether or not to leave my son or go, Am I going to do what feels right for me, or do I need to protect my children?
Exactly.
So that's kind of what did it for me. And I prayed. I prayed because I did not believe in divorce.
Right. Right.
And really spiritual, really religious, but and so I was in church, and I just did not want that stigma either. And so I prayed and asked God. I'm like, at this time I was working a $9 an hour job as a customer service rep. I think maybe making between $9 and $11. And so I prayed and said, hey, look, if it's your will for me to leave,
Right.
provide a way of escape.
I need you to make a way. Yes.
I need you to make a way.
Yes.
And right after that, I ended up getting moving to a different department where I was making piece rates. So I was ended up going from like making between $9 and $11 an hour to making about $21 an hour. And I was able to work from home, which was good because the kids. So it's just, it was amazing. So I'm like, okay, you did that. Now, how am I going to get out of this?
Right, right.
So, and then that night, it's kind of special because it happened, 4th of July, and the significance of that holiday. So it was kind of special for me. It was like, okay, I don't actually have to be beaten to get out of this relationship.
Absolutely, absolutely. So do you celebrate 4th of July, aka Independence Day, for a different reason?
For a different reason.
I feel that. I feel that. So when you made the decision, like, okay, you asked and you received, first of all, want to give acknowledgement to that, but then you followed direction. Because a lot of times when we're in those situations, we ask and then we question the solution. Like, is this it? No, this ain't what I meant, because we want it to be a particular way. But you were obedient. You listened. When you made those steps to remove yourself and your children, not just physically from that space, but also to work on mentally removing from that space, what did it empower you to do? What was birthed from that? What had happened?
Oh my gosh, so much. So much was birthed from that. I knew that in order for me to be a successful parent, I had to be an example to them.
Right.
So I ended up going back to school. So I'm 26 years old, get a full-time job, working full-time, raising 5 children by myself, and now going to school full-time. So I went back to school, got my bachelor's in political science.
Okay, that's grinding.
Yeah, grinding, and started my first business, the Hair District. So I started my first business during that time too. And even before I started that, I've always been good with my hands, or just anything that I put my mind to do, I just seem to be able, it just gets done. So whether it was if I had a dental bill for one of the kids, I would bake cakes and pies and do that and sell it. I would
get
hustle.
That bill paid.
I would hustle for my kids. I would you do what I had to do to make sure that they had a roof over their head, the bills were paid, they had food, all of those things. So I hope that that's kind of what started the grind for me.
Okay.
But yeah, it took a lot to build that self-confidence back up.
Exactly. So what did you do to get that started? Because you're right, that's a big battle a lot of times for not just women, but people, period, coming from an abusive situation. And they know they don't need to be there. They know they want to leave. But once they've done that, it's like, okay, well, now what? I'm physically gone. But as I mentioned a little bit ago, to mentally remove or heal from that space is a part of the battle as well. A lot of times a huge part of the battle.
Right.
What did you do?
I began talking about it.
Okay.
That was healing for me. It was talking about it. So I would start to share my experience or my testimony, whether it was in church or people inviting me out to speak at their events. And that's kind of what sparked the whole TiffanyMichelle Speaks.
Okay. Okay. So now it's coming full circle. It's coming full circle. Okay. So you started to speak in churches or basically wherever?
Churches. It went from churches to wherever. So I made a connection with Victoria Morgan. She's here. She has the nonprofit She's Healed, so she would invite me up to come and speak at some of the events that she was doing. And if she had radio or something to do, she would invite me up to come and share on radio as well. So
shout out to Victoria.
Shout out Victoria.
I'm coming for you. Okay, go ahead.
So that's kind of how the TiffanyMichelle Speaks brand started.
Okay.
But then it's kind of, taking on new life because after, you've come through the whole domestic violence and, healing. And that was another way. Let me backtrack.
Okay.
Self-affirmations.
Yes.
I am very big on self-affirmations.
Yes.
You have to speak positively over your life, to yourself, your surroundings, all of that. So every day, I would look in the mirror, and at this time, I hated the way I looked. Hated it. I could not stand my smile. I would not smile at all. But I would look in the mirror. One of my friends told me to do this. So look in the mirror and smile like you have $1 million in your head and tell yourself that you're beautiful. So I would do that, and I'm like, oh God, I hate my that's how I felt at the time. I was like, I do not like what I look like. It was just, but that was because of the years of somebody telling me,
telling you otherwise,
telling me otherwise. So, and it was just to keep me down, and it wasn't really.
Of course. Yeah.
So that's how that was the steps that I took to kind of heal myself.
Okay.
I did counseling as well, but I found that I got the most empowerment from helping other women, and not just women. Sometimes the men, so they can see, hey, the men go through this stuff too.
I tell people all the time, and even in my personal life, that one of the most beneficial and effective ways of self-healing is to help others, to relate to others, to not hold that energy in and not be woe is me or choose to stay in victim mode, but to go out and share and help other people. So speaking of helping, for those of us who may be watching who is not too clear about what affirmations are, tell us what affirmations are and give us a sample of what you used to tell yourself.
They are, for me, they are I am statements.
Yes.
So I believe that you can create the atmosphere or the environment that you live in through positive affirmations. Sometimes we can do negative self-talk and positive self-talk.
Absolutely.
So for me, positive self-talk was saying, I am strong, I am beautiful, I am
Yes.
loved, I am wanted, I am desired, I am more than enough, I'm healthy,
Yes.
I'm complete, I'm
Yes.
whole. Those were the self-affirmations, because it was,
Right.
you know, how this, you know, you're not this, you're not that.
Yes.
All of those negative words, it takes a lot of time to combat, because you rehearse them. You start to believe them about yourself because you rehearse them.
Yep.
And you create that atmosphere
Yep.
through rehearsing those words. And I often say that for me, the words hurt more or have more lasting impact than the physical abuse.
Agreed.
Because those words just stay with you. So when those negative thoughts come in my head, you are.
You got to counteract that.
I am. You know, that's what the positive self-talk or self-affirmations are for me.
So you donned your $1 billion smile every time you said, because I got to make sure the people listening know the steps. You know, everybody need help, you know. So with the smile, looking in the mirror, I am, and there had to be something positive that followed that. There are studies that say for every one negative thought, whether someone tells you it or whether you tell it yourself, that I would have to 17 times tell you something positive to counter out that one negative statement.
Yes.
So I mentioned that because I need people to understand it's not just I'm going to stand in the mirror and say, I'm beautiful, I'm strong, I'm confident, I'm intelligent, I'm happy, I'm healthy, and then I'm done. No, this is a repeated pattern. This is becoming a way of life, because we got to counteract a lot. Especially if it comes from someone who we thought at one moment cared about us or love us, or everybody else around us is saying we're beautiful. But that one person who we gave our heart to canceled it out. Everybody else saying we're beautiful.
And not just that. For me, one of the things that he would say to me is that nobody's going to want you with 5 children.
Wow.
That's something that's my reality.
Yeah.
I have 5 children.
Yeah.
And society, there's a stigma on women who have a lot of children.
Yeah.
You know, before you can even share your story with them, they don't even know that all of my children are by the same man who happens to be my ex-husband. There's already a judgment associated with it. So I have to, when people say those things or put those things out, because I read them on Facebook or whatever, whatever the comments may be, or the blogs or, you know, whatever. You see those and it's just kind of brings that thing back up.
It does.
And I have to say,
It
nope.
does.
Nope.
Right.
Nope. This is
Hit them with the affirmations.
Hit them with the affirmations. Yep.
And I'm glad that you touched on that point, because there are, whether a person has 5 kids, less kids, or more kids, they're being told from friends and strangers that you can't do anything, you can't be anything. If you try to pursue something to better your situation for yourself and your kids, are you not a good mama? Put your kids first. You know, a lot of people got so much stuff to say, but it's usually those people who are sitting at home not doing anything.
Right.
They need to heal.
Right.
They got some work that need to be done.
Right.
So instead of using your story as empowerment, or saying, okay, well, she got 5 babies and she did this, and this, and she's slaying. I learned that from my kids. And she's slaying. Instead of using that as a form of encouragement, they choose to be some haters.
Yeah.
So how do you deal with that? How do you press forward?
I dealt with that.
Okay.
I dealt with that when I decided to go back to school. You would not believe the amount of people who told me, no, you don't need to do that.
Wow.
You don't
Told
need
you
to,
you don't need
you
to
don't
do.
need to do. You don't need to do that because it's taking time away from your children.
Wow.
And I'm saying, how can I?
Wow.
You just have to be comfortable in following your own path.
Love that.
You can't
Yes.
worry about what other people are going to say. You have to follow your own path.
Yes.
Do what makes you happy. I sat down and I've all through since 2009, I sat down with my children and had conversations. This is why I do what I do. Let me explain it to you.
Yes.
We are a one-income household.
Yes.
And the only person that's providing is mommy. And this is what mommy has to do to feed you guys. And this is what mommy has to do to clothe you guys. And so what will other people say? I will do my best to make it to your things, whether it be my son plays football and runs track, and my youngest daughter does ballet, and the twins and the oldest girl were doing were in orchestra, I would do everything I can in my power to make it to your events, to be there for you guys. But this is what I have to do.
I found over time that our children understand more than we give them credit for.
As long as we communicate.
Bingo. 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 And then our children get a form of empowerment and encouragement when they see mommy handling her business. So then they're in a position where they know how to respond when the naysayers or the haters say something to them like, "Dad, your mom ain't here? Yeah, my mom out grinding."
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And they know it's the truth.
Exactly.
And they know
Exactly.
it's the truth.
Exactly. So as I told you when we were in the green room, this time goes so quick. But I don't want it to run out without you being able to tell the people where to contact Tiffany Michelle.
You can go to my website, www.TiffanyMichelleSpeaks.com. Phone number's there. My email address is there. There's a contact form there. There's links to some of my YouTube videos.
Okay.
There's links to, there's my bio is there. Hopefully soon my book will be done.
We're going to speak that. Affirmations.
Listen, it has been a work in progress.
Yeah.
And it was very reflective. So the title of the book is, To Be Honest, I'm Not Okay.
Okay.
So
okay. I love that. I love that.
Which is kind of like,
I love that.
Right, but you'll get it when you read the book.
So I'm going to slide this in here before I forget that when you are finished with the book, we need to put you on schedule to come back and talk about that. Because to be honest, I'm not okay. Because we so conditioned to say, "How you doing?" "Girl, I'm fine. I'm fine." But that's another conversation. That's another conversation. So if you could think of one statement, one mantra, one affirmation to encourage the viewers to keep pressing forward and be their fabulous self such as you are, can you look in that camera and give them a thoughtful word?
Oh boy, so many, so many. Remind yourself every day that the most valuable gift you have is your voice.
Absolutely.
Speak your story. Tell your truth.
Yes, yes.
Speak it to power. Speak it to yourself. But the most valuable gift is your voice.
Okay, Oprah Jr. I think she delivered some message like that recently. Okay, Miss Oprah Jr.
Actually, I've had these on buttons for like 2 years now.
Real? Oh, so she copied off of you.
I don't
see. That's another conversation.
That's just the universe coming around to confirm that you do what you're supposed to do.
Agreed. You got to so come back, and I just don't say that to people. Like I mean it when I say that. Like you have to come back. So I have to hold it up because of our camera angles, but I have a wristband because they're like the cool thing now, and it says Healing Conversations with Coach V, and it's just a small token of my appreciation for you choosing to come into the space, share your story, share your healing journey, and give people a point of reference to know like they better back up off of Tiffany Michelle. You know, they know now. The people know.
They know.
So thank you so much for coming. I look forward to you coming in the future with the book. With something else, just give me a call and it's done, okay?
All right,
cool
I'd love
things. So thank y'all so much for tuning in to Healing Conversations with Coach V with me, certified life coach and personal growth expert with SVM Initiatives LLC. Don't forget to tune in next week where I have another boss babe from the Cincinnati area coming in sharing her story of challenges and how she made her own brand and made her way of healing. So like us on YouTube at Healing Conversations with Coach V and on Facebook at Healing Conversations with Coach V. We'll see you next time.